But first, as the Prime Minister discovered on the weekend, it's easy for politicians to get into trouble at rallies, especially rallies on issues that governments can't readily fix. Now, domestic violence is a serious issue that should concern all of us. But there's no magic wand that government can wave here. It's partly family breakdown. It's partly poor discipline in schools. It's partly substance abuse. It's partly unemployment. It's partly a justice system that too often than not sees perpetrators as victims. And then there's tragic human error, with a low-level court official releasing an abusive, violent ex on bail who then promptly became an alleged murderer. Now, if it was me, that official concerned would no longer be in a job. But it is not merely the fault of the system when things go wrong. These perpetrators are mostly all adults. They choose to do the wrong thing and thus should face the full brunt of the law and not be allowed to get away with punishments lessened because of their skin colour, their home life, their drug abuse or any number of the other excuses that get trotted out. But back to the Prime Minister. It appears he was determined to headline the Canberra rally. He turned up, he demanded to speak, said all the usual things and then certainly upset the organisers who've now accused him of lying.
You've labelled the Prime Minister as a liar on your social media after he spoke at the rally yesterday, saying that his office weren't approached to speak.
I'd actually asked him, their office, if he would speak, if he could commit, and they said, look, it's a bit too busy, but Katie Gallagher would happily speak. So him coming out and saying that he asked to speak and was denied was really, really upsetting. It was quite traumatic for not only me, but everyone in the audience, all victim survivors, honestly, across the country, because our Prime Minister just flat out lied on a national scale in front of the whole country.
Now, this morning, when he was questioned about it on television, the Prime Minister seemed to blame it on a woman for being emotional.
Sarah Williams has claimed you lied to the nation. What's your response?
Oh, look, good on Sarah for organising the rally yesterday.
So she said you're on the stage with her and there was confusion about, you know, who was going to speak. And then you said behind her on the stage words to the effect of, I'm the Prime Minister and I run the country. Did you just say that?
Nat, I'm not going to get into, you know, that sort of debate. I wish Sarah well. This should not be a distraction from what is a very serious issue indeed.
Now, there are two issues here. The first is the PM's poor judgment, getting himself into a difficult situation, then making it much worse by failing to own his mistake and apologise. You'd think one of his 11 media minders, yes, he has 11, would have helped him get out of that hole. And then the second, depending on how this story ends up, the media double standards. I mean, Scott Morrison was hounded for weeks, if not months, for being out of touch on women's issues over Christine Holgate and then Brittany Higgins. Well, Tony Abbott, he was never forgiven for standing in front of an abusive placard about Julia Gillard he didn't even know was behind him. Now, I think the Prime Minister owes the rally organiser an apology first for making what appeared to be false claims about an invitation to speak, second for seeming to bully a young woman, and third for blaming her for what looks like his own mistake. Now, of itself, maybe this isn't a huge issue, but it goes to character. And so far, for this Prime Minister on character, it's a big fail.